For God's sake, could I just die in peace? Lord, would you please grant me this one thing? I opened my eyes to see seagulls hovering above us, flying, cruising without a care in the world while we rotted on this God-forsaken raft. The harsh sun baked us in its immense heat, and salty air stung my eyes. The tumultuous waves from earlier had stopped, but my stomach still reeled from its effects. Bile rose to the surface, but once again I suppressed my urge to evacuate my insides. The other members of this merry band had no such luck. I couldn't risk it, not even once. I would rather quell my hunger by eating my fingers instead of seeing my appearance. I groggily sat up from the supine position I was resting in and pushed strands of my oily, caked hair from my face. To see everyone else in a similar condition did not bring me any comfort. I turned away from them to look out into the horizon, doing my best not to look at my reflection. Such beauty in the hues of blue that I could have appreciated under different circumstances. Clear skies emanated a gift of tranquility that juxtaposed the turbulent storm from the previous day, or hour, or couple of hours. I had no idea how long we'd been on this boat. Hell, I had a better chance of winning the lottery than discerning what time it was.
You're not fooling anyone.
I turned my head to face the one speaking to me. Her? The stranger.
The hell are you talking about?
I asked as her eyes pierced my own and we locked gazes. She had one hand on her stomach, the other on her end of the raft. The strange woman was still recovering from her puking episode, but aired composure from the firmness of her face and the color she was emitting.
If you need to throw up, no one will look at you any different. What we survived was a feat in itself.
I ignored her, then slowly laid back down. I turned my head away to face the inside of the raft. Tears welled from my eyes as my throat burned from the bile I did my best to force down. What, we survived? Yes, we survived, but for how long? How much longer could we survive this predicament? Fatigue finally got the best of me as my eyes slowly closed, but only to flutter back open as another wave rocked the boat. Another reminder that we were stuck in the middle of the ocean, barely clinging on to our lives. Survive? Yeah, right. Hope was lost the moment I met. I leaned forward into my chair to fully embrace the spell the music casted over me. The orchestra playing Beethoven's Symphony No. 3 turned the already immaculate amphitheater into an array of vivid colors across the spectrum. Hate, pain, sorrow, love. Every emotion could be seen as the colorful plumes of sound surrounded the audience. Sweat drenched the conductor as he motioned the cellist with an elegant wave of his arm. The troupe matched his energy as they continued to perform as I fell deeper into its ecstasy. However, a slight nudge to my side broke me out of my trance.
Can we leave now?
I turned my head to face Dallas, whose nose was buried in his phone.
You've got to be fucking kidding me.
I whispered to my annoying friend.
I knew this was going to be boring, but this mind-numbing? Sheesh.
He lightly scoffed as he continued scrolling through his phone. Before I could whisper to him a scathing response for wasting my extra ticket, my phone began to buzz in my purse. I retrieved it, then made a scowl at who texted me. Dallas's eyes still fixated on his phone.
Daddy dearest?
I ignored Dallas and unlocked my phone to view the message. Impromptu meeting. Want you here ASAP. And just like that, my afternoon was ruined. I tossed my phone back into my purse, then stood up to walk from our booth.
Hey, wait for me.
My security detail opened the double doors for us to pass and followed as my black dress grazed the carpet. He knew I would be here today. A small fortune was paid to acquire our seats, and now it will have to go to waste for an impromptu meeting. Dallas put his hand on my shoulder, then stepped in front of my path, almost causing me to trip. Being significantly taller than me at 190 centimeters, his imposing frame stood between me and the end of the hallway. His overstarched suit could barely fit his slim, yet muscular physique. Looking at his face, I could tell that he missed his usual eyebrow-plucking appointment, but his dashing brown eyes still overshadowed that minor flaw.
Where's the fire?
Dad needs me for another meeting.
I gritted through my teeth. Dallas leaned toward me to whisper.
You know, you don't have to do what he says, right?
I gave him a side-eye and brushed his hand off my shoulder.
If only it were that simple.
I marched past Dallas and continued towards the grand doors of the amphitheater exit. The black Mercedes was already pulled up for me, and one of my security men opened the backseat door. I pulled up my dress and entered the car, but before my security could close the door, Dallas popped his head inside.
Still joining me for legs tomorrow?
His eyes showed eagerness. I pulled down my bun, then turned my head to answer.
Yes, and I'll let you know if anything changes.
Good.
He smiled, then just as quickly his chiseled jawline made a scowl.
Really, Merc, take my advice. Fuck him.
Hear you loud and clear.
Dallas finally closed the door, and we were off. There was no need to tell the driver where to.
Please, young lady, introduce yourself to our guest.
I begrudgingly stuck out my recently manicured hand to shake this gentleman's wrinkled one. The older man softly shook my hand before giving it a light kiss.
It is a pleasure to make your acquaintance, sir.
I began.
My name is Mercury Angelopoulos, and I look forward to sitting in and learning from you both.
The man let go of my hand and smiled at me.
The pleasure is all mine, young lady.
Steaming from his head was a hazy mustard color. Its perversion assaulted the air around us, which was of no surprise to me. All of my father's associates, new and old, always aired the color of lecherous lust. Horny old men. The only person that I didn't mind having that mustard haze was our old security guard, Bruno. Even though his eyes always wandered my body, he was excellent at his job, and quite the looker for his age. Dad let him go all of a sudden last year, and I was still pissed at him for doing that.
Please don't mind my daughter observing this meeting.
My father now had his hand on the man's shoulder.
She will eventually take over the business, so I need her to soak up as much experience as possible.
My eyes rolled so hard that I gave myself an acute headache. Such a liar.
Mercury is finishing up her master's in psychology.
Doctorates, but of course he doesn't remember.
Her brilliant mind will take the clubs to a whole new stratosphere. Just you wait and see, Jerry.
Oh, I see just fine. How old are you, Miss Mercury?
Jerry's eyes ran up and down my body. 16. I batted my eyes at him. His face scrunched as he took a step back and looked towards my father, who let out a belly-aching laugh. Jerry's colors went from mustard to a lavender hue. Shame looked good on him, even though I could still see streaks of mustard as he looked at me once again.
My daughter is pulling your leg, chap.
Dad's chuckling was beginning to die down.
Mercury is 30.
30? How dare he?
Please pardon her sense of humor.
Dad led the man to his chair and helped him sit down. Then he sat opposite of him. I pulled at my black dress, then took my seat at the end of the mahogany table. The men began their meeting. My father, Elios Angelopoulos, was one of the most successful club owners on this side of the Mediterranean, and he relied on me to help him with every inch of that success. Ever since I could remember, I had this condition called synesthesia that allowed me to see sounds as colors, more like sounds as emotions expressed as colors. I remembered trying to explain this phenomena as a child, and my mother thought I was crazy, making me feel ashamed for being different. Her voice always came with a hint of Violet, showing her worry for me until her untimely demise when I was 9. Other memories of her were foggy at best. Nevertheless, Dad saw my condition as an interesting opportunity to read people's minds. At a young age, he would have me sit quietly in a corner and listen to all manner of private conversations under the guise of learning the ropes. I would be tasked to write down what colors the person was emitting and at what part of the conversation. And after only 3 months of doing that, he charted what color correlated to what emotion based on my inferences, and he was able to use that information to help him secure the best deals from potential partners. The conversation he was currently having with the older gentleman was no different. Dad always aired a plume of emerald when he spoke, and his trademark hearty laugh helped show that exuberant nature. Even when he lied, his color never changed, and I could not say the same for many of the people he had meetings with, especially this one. As my father was politely pressing him for more leverage, the man's color ranged from shades of violet to crimson red. I didn't even need to see the rageful red when the man's forehead vein began to pulsate. After roughly 20 minutes of boredom listening to their conversation, the pair finally stood up and shook hands. Dad led him out of the room, and I could hear their footsteps saunter down the stairwell into the marble-floored foyer. Accidentally putting the hand that shook the man's hand on my face, I was immediately disgusted with myself. I got up and walked towards the mirror hanging on the other side of the room. I could just hear them finishing their salutations and the grand entrance of our mansion swiftly shut. Dad immediately ran upstairs back to the conference room where I was now trying to pull out a stray hair from my face.
So?
He didn't like how overzealous you were on the parking permits.
I was now reapplying my lipstick. Upon gathering his breath, he leapt back to his feet to join me facing the mirror. He made a quick adjustment to his bow tie.
I have faith that he will make the right decision.
That faith is going to burn you one day, Dad.
He gave a hearty laugh and we continued adjusting ourselves. Dad and I were basically twins with two big defining features. We both had light blue eyes that contrasted heavily to our jet black hair, which also sported a strip of silky white strands on the right side. We shared a heavy case of polyiosis that made us look like we were stand-ins for the Addams family. The kids back in primary school used to call me PP Le Pew because of the white strips of hair and how their teasing made me pee my pants a little. Gotta say, kids were cruel yet clever.
How has school been?
Fine.
Been doing anything interesting as of late?
No.
I lied.
I like that dress. What retailer did you get it from?
Are you fucking kidding me? You bought this designer dress for me on my 27th birthday last month. Before I could finish answering him, his phone rang and he put his finger in the air to pause me. He answered the call and sauntered towards the exit to have his conversation. Dad's emerald aura continued to seep out even as he was talking on the phone. No apology from having interrupted my theater night. No hint of sympathy at all. We shared many similarities, but we differed fundamentally. He only cared about one thing and one thing only, and that thing happened to match his aura. I looked forward to what I had planned for him. For all of them. This weekend couldn't come fast enough.